potatoes and sweet potatoes, taros and yams. These are just some of Japan's imo, a word that describes carbohydrate-rich vegetables with enlarged underground roots and stems. In Japan, they're all inexpensive, everyday foods. Sweet potatoes saved countless lives during the great famines of the samurai era and the food shortages of the Second World War. Cognac is a food with a unique appeal that is made from one kind of tuber. It played a surprising role in a Japanese wartime plan to terrorize the United States with fire balloons. Japanese mountain yams are prized for their viscous texture. This man is trekking through the woods in search of large, wild-growing mountain yams.
Yes, it's huge.
On this edition of Begin Japanology, our theme is potatoes, taros and yams. By exploring this wide variety of tubers, we will dig deep into a rich Japanese culinary tradition.
Hello and welcome to Begin Japanology. I'm Peter Barakan. I'm standing in a kind of farmer's market run by a local agricultural collective in the city of Kawagoe, which is just north of Tokyo in Saitama Prefecture. Kawagoe is famous for its sweet potatoes, and as soon as you walk in the door here, the display you see is, predictably enough, sweet potatoes. There are a number of different varieties of them as well. Now, over here, we've put together a selection of some of the various different tubers that are on sale here. These are sweet potatoes, these are familiar spuds, these are known as taros, and these are a kind of what's known as Chinese yam. Let's start off today's program by seeing how all of these things which fall under the umbrella in Japan of what's known as imo are consumed here in Japan.
Most of the potatoes, taros and yams eaten in Japan are grown outside the country. But these yams are all Japanese. Yams like this, that have been foraged in the wild, are the most highly prized. This is another similar type of yam that originally came to Japan from China. The Japanese word for yam encompasses several different varieties. What they all have in common is that they yield a very sticky paste when grated. This paste is flavored and then eaten in a kind of soup. On the old highway from Tokyo to Kyoto, one of the way stations was particularly famous for its grated yam soup. Grated yam was thought to be invigorating, so travellers would eat it to build their strength for the onward journey. The cultivation of this plant, taro, began in Japan in prehistoric times, even before rice cultivation. Every taro has a main food storage organ underground with smaller offshoots. Because of this, taros are seen as a symbol of fertility and big families. That's why they're often used in dishes served at festive gatherings. One simple home-cooked recipe is boiled taro seasoned with soy sauce and sugar. Every September, the city of Yamagata holds an event where taro is the star attraction. In Japan's largest pot, 6 meters across, a popular local dish of boiled taro is prepared. Power shovels serve as ladles. In this region, stewed taro often features in picnics, and this event celebrates that on an enormous scale, using 3 tons of taro and 1.2 tons of beef to feed 30,000 people. The sweet potato came to Japan in the 17th century. In Japanese, it's called the Satsuma imo, because it was widely grown in the Satsuma region, which is now part of Kagoshima Prefecture. One popular way of preparing sweet potatoes is by slow roasting them on a bed of heated pebbles. This brings out their sweetness. A man pulling a cart around town selling roasted sweet potatoes is a winter institution in Japan. Kagoshima is known for its imo jochu, an alcoholic beverage made from sweet potatoes. The starch content of the sweet potato is fermented and distilled, creating a high-proof spirit. Around the same time the sweet potato arrived in Japan, the potato did too. At first it was mainly grown for its flowers. The Japanese name for the potato, jagaimo, is derived from Jakarta, the Indonesian city from which the potato first came to Japan. A stew of potatoes boiled in soy sauce along with beef or pork is one of Japan's classic home-cooked favorites. Another popular potato dish is Japanese curry. Potatoes, carrots, onions and other ingredients are simmered in a spice-rich broth and served with rice. The Japanese enjoy a variety of potatoes, taros and yams. Inexpensive, delicious and filling, they're a staple of the Japanese diet.
I'm still in Kawagoe, and this sweet potato field, as you can see, is right in the middle of a residential area. I can remember taking my children when they were small on a sweet potato digging expedition, which is actually quite a popular thing to do here. I'm going to talk about that and some other things to Mr. Yoichi Arahata, who's the owner of this field. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
It's a little unusual that potato digging would become a sort of tourist attraction. Why is that?
Well, people who come here are mostly children from the cities. It gives them a chance to play with soil while having fun digging potatoes. We're open from September to early November.
This one looks like it's going to... It is a big one, Ruff. Well, it's 3 on this one. It's a bit like a treasure hunt, isn't it?
Please, try some steamed sweet potatoes I made.
Thank you very much. Okay, these are steamed, not baked, but let's have a go. I'm going to eat these skin and all. Sweet, quite soft, delicious, really good. These days Japan has an abundance of food, but in the past there have been periods of severe famine. And on occasions like that, sometimes sweet potatoes have come to the rescue. Let's take a look.
In 1732, a run of bad weather combined with swarms of pests in western Japan caused widespread crop failures. Many people died of starvation in what came to be known as the Great Kyoho Famine. During the samurai age, Japan frequently suffered from crop failures and famine. One man who saved many lives in that era was Aoki Konnyo, better known to history as Professor Sweet Potato. Konnyo, who had studied Confucianism, medicine and pharmacology, began looking into how to prevent famine. One day he hit upon an entry in a Chinese book about a crop that grows well in poor soil, the sweet potato. Sweet potatoes had come to Japan from China by way of Okinawa, reaching Kyushu by the early 17th century. But at that stage, they did not spread throughout Japan. Sweet potato tubers are not directly planted. Instead, the stalks are cut from them, and these stalks are planted in the fields like seedlings. Using this method, one seed sweet potato can produce about 30 new sweet potatoes. That's a very high yield. Sweet potatoes also have high nutritional value and are resistant to bad weather and insects. Konnyo wrote up his findings in a book with the name Treatise on the Sweet Potato. The book's publication led feudal authorities to call on Konnyo and ask him to take a leading role in famine relief. In the early months of 1735, 1,500 seed sweet potatoes arrived from Kyushu. Konnyo put them in storage while he searched for places to plant them when spring arrived. But then he ran into a tricky problem. A widely held contemporary belief in Edo, Japan's capital, that sweet potatoes were poisonous. Many farmers refused to plant them. Also, the seed sweet potatoes were being stored in Edo, which is much farther north, and Kyushu. They suffered in the cold winter. Only 1/3 of them remained fit for planting. But finally, a place to plant their stalks was secured. Konnyo himself tended the fields daily. And in November of that same year,
Success!
It was the first harvest of sweet potatoes in Edo. The cultivation of sweet potatoes as a measure against famine spread across the country, saving many people from starvation. In modern times, food shortages occurred again during the Second World War and the chaotic period just after the war's end. Private sale of rice and sweet potatoes was prohibited. Supplies were distributed as rations, but there wasn't enough of either to go around. So sweet potatoes were planted in school sports grounds, parks, and other open spaces. And they became a hot commodity on the black market. City dwellers took trains out to farming villages just to buy sweet potatoes. Because farmers in the countryside didn't have any way to ship products to the city, they actually had a lot of sweet potatoes to spare. It was a time of unimaginable hardship in which desperate efforts to obtain sweet potatoes kept starvation at bay. Fast forward to Japan today. A department store in Tokyo's ritzy Ginza district offers premium roasted sweet potatoes, a very different take on this humble tuber. The price, 368 yen per 100 grams. Only the finest quality sweet potatoes are used to create these ultra gourmet treats. From a food that saved people from starvation to a gourmet department store snack. The role of sweet potatoes may have undergone a radical change, but what hasn't changed is how much the Japanese love them.
What do you think this is, this stuff with a sort of rubbery jelly consistency to it? It's called konnyaku. I'm in a town called Kanda, which is in Gunma Prefecture, where they make more konnyaku than anywhere else in Japan. And it comes from this, which is a kind of tuber that doesn't look terribly edible, does it? It's grown in a field just like this. It takes 3 years to grow these plants to the point where you harvest this tuber. And then even after that, there's quite a lot of work that goes into processing the konnyaku to the point where it's on a plate like what you just saw. Konnyaku is a pretty unusual kind of food, and it's been developed in a unique way in Japan. Let's take a look.
Konjac is a plant related to the taro. Some say it came to Japan thousands of years ago, while others believe it didn't arrive until the 8th century. Because the raw tuber contains toxins, it has always required special preparation before eating. At this processing plant, first the konjac tuber is peeled, then grated, then run through a sieve with water. This extracts glucomannan, a dietary fibre that is the main constituent of konjac. Adding more water turns the konjac into a sticky paste, which eventually solidifies. Calcium hydroxide is added, which makes it coagulate further. Then it's mechanically kneaded. Now the konjac is poured into molds and quickly shaped. It's heated to 80 degrees Celsius in lime water for 2 hours. And the end result is the rubbery texture for which cognac is famous. The cognac is soaked in water overnight to remove any scum. When it has this translucent sheen and wobbly consistency, it's ready. The Japanese eat cognac all the time, but its production is time-consuming. It also has practically no nutrients or calories, and very little flavor. But the unique way it feels in your mouth is enjoyed in Japan. One 18th century encyclopedia said that cognac will clear grit from your belly. And indeed, cognac is rich in dietary fiber and aids digestion. In the 18th century, Mount Fuji erupted. The story goes that people who feared for their health because they had inhaled ash bought up all the cognac they could. Because cognac has virtually 0 calories, it has found popularity as a diet food. It can be eaten on its own as a gelatinous snack or shaped into grains and mixed with rice. One special form of cognac is made of thin slices that are dried outdoors in the dead of winter. The cognac freezes at night, then melts during the day. Repeating the cycle gives this dried cognac its spongy consistency. Typically reconstituted in water before eating, this type of cognac has a more distinct taste than ordinary cognac and is also firmer. The same method was used to make these cognac sponges. Add water to them and they can be used to scrub the skin smooth without soap. Cognac has even been used in weapons. During the Second World War, the Japanese army hatched a top-secret fire balloon stratagem. Large balloons 10 meters across were filled with hydrogen and sent floating towards the US mainland with bombs hanging underneath them. The balloons were made of paper, actually 5 layers of paper glued together. And the paste used was made of cognac that had been boiled until it melted. Surprisingly, these paper and cognac balloons proved just as strong as ones made from aluminium foil, and were also able to keep hydrogen from leaking out. A health food, a sponge, and even part of a weapon. Cognac is a versatile plant. It has been used in unique and surprising ways.
This factory produces more cognac than any other in Japan. It's also open to the public for tours. This is a picture of the cognac of flower, which only grows once every 5 years, but grows to a height of 1.80 meters. Also gives you a clue as to why it's sometimes known as the devil's tongue. And there's even a buffet area where they have all different kinds of cognac products. You just help yourself to anything you want, and it's all free. Let's see what we've got here then. These are in chunks, and they've been stewed in a soy-based sauce. We've got sashimi here. These ones are handmade, and they're only 5 calories per 100 grams. And this is called dengaku. It's been skewered, and these are warm again. Let's see. This comes with a kind of sweet miso sauce. Are you a fan of cognac?
Even if you eat a lot of it, it has very few calories, so it's a good diet food. It makes you feel full. So, yes, I really like it.
Okay, let's dig in. See what we've got. This is the chunk that's been stewed. I'm going to skewer this because it's hard to pick up otherwise. It's not very good etiquette, but I don't care. Konjac doesn't really have much taste of its own. It's really all about texture and the fact that there's a lot of fibre in it. Now, they even have a little dessert here. You know those almond jelly desserts you get in Chinese restaurants? It's made to look a bit like that. It is sweet and very light, actually. That's pretty good. I'm impressed with that. As we've seen, Konjac goes through some pretty complex processing to get into all these different forms. The next kind of tuber we're going to look at is prized for its wildness, and we're going to meet a man who has a kind of obsession with foraging for it.
A man roams the foothills of Mount Fuji digging holes in the ground. What's he up to? From a deep hole, he pulls out a wild tuber. It's a Japanese mountain yam. Some varieties of this species are cultivated, but the viscous goodness of wild mountain yams sets them apart. Japanese mountain yams are nutrient-rich and a natural stimulant, so people in Japan have long enjoyed yam hunting. A truck driver from Shizuoka named Noriyuki Mio became enthralled by wild yams 5 years ago. Ever since, he has made it his mission to find the biggest yams possible.
Typical yams weigh 500 or 600 grams. 1 kilogram is big, but I want to find ones that are 2 kilos, 3 kilos, even 4 kilos. That's my goal.
Winter is the peak season for these tubers, but Mio heads into the forest in the autumn to scout out the locations of promising ones. When winter comes, the vines wither, so autumn is a good time to look for them. During the summer, Japanese mountain yams send their shoots climbing up trees, forming large umbrellas of leaves. In the ground beneath these umbrellas, yams may grow undisturbed for decades. Late November. Once the leaves have started to wither, mountain yam season gets into full swing. Mio heads to the places he scouted in the autumn and investigates the scene like a detective. He finds a fragment of a yam vine. During winter, withered vines fall and scatter. They are clues that yam tubers are nearby, hidden underground. Mio says that for him, this is the most exciting moment.
Got something?
He clears away fallen leaves to expose the yam's stem. How big is the yam lurking underground? Mio quickly starts digging. He uses a long spade made especially for digging wild yams.
A rock.
The white tuber comes into view, but it is shielded by rocks, so Mio can't get at it.
I lost. Defeated. This is what makes the whole thing so interesting. But damn, I could cry.
When Mio finds a tuber he can't extract cleanly, he sportingly leaves it and refills the hole. Recently, there's been a dramatic decline in finds of large Japanese mountain yams. This forest, though, is known for having yielded large ones in the past.
That is the umbrella, and you can see where the vines are going down. Pretty thick, too.
All the signs point to a large specimen that has escaped the notice of foragers for years. But Mio finds only this tiny stalk. He resists the urge to rush as he digs. And digs. just how big is this thing?
This could be the one.
And then, finally,
yes! Look at it! A huge one. I did it. This might be my 4-kilo yam.
it's the largest yam he has ever found, 2.3 meters long and weighing 3.3 kilograms. A monster, if not quite the mythical 4-kilo one he had hoped for. Still, it must have been growing for at least 10 years. Full of gratitude for the natural bounty of the mountains, Mio turns the yam into a meal. Wild-grown yams are more aromatic and richer in flavor, very different from cultivated ones. It's now another day. Mio is heading into the woods yet again on a new quest for a gigantic yam.
I'll be doing this till the day I die.
Mr. Mio, who we just saw in the video, seeks out those really large yams, but to avoid destroying the environment, he leaves the upper part in the earth, and when he finds small ones, he doesn't even bother taking them out. Today we've looked at all kinds of potatoes and taros and yams. With the sweet potatoes, people go out digging for them in groups. With the taros, sometimes they have those big potato-eating parties. A sense of community is something that's rapidly disappearing in modern-day Japan. But these seemingly insignificant acts are something that evoke to a lot of Japanese people a perhaps kinder, gentler time. I'll see you again next time.
Next time, name seals. Everyone in Japan has one, and there are even people who put seal to paper more than 20,000 times a year. We explore the long history and latest electronic incarnations of name seals.